Hello everybody. If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 286, The Unexpected Journey. It was a typical rainy afternoon in Bristol. Emma, a 25-year-old graphic designer, was sitting in her small apartment, staring at her computer screen. She had been working on the project for hours and needed a break. She decided to make a cup of tea and look out the window. The rain was pouring down, creating a soothing rhythm against the glass. Emma loved the rain. It reminded her of her childhood when she would play outside, jumping in puddles and getting soaked. Those were simpler times. Now, life was more complicated, filled with deadlines and responsibilities. She sighed and took a sip of her tea, feeling the warmth spread through her body. As she stood by the window, she noticed a small old bookshop across the street. She had passed by it many times, but had never gone inside. On a whim, she decided to visit the shop. She grabbed her umbrella and headed out into the rain. The bell above the door jingled as she entered the shop. It was a cosy place, filled with the smell of old books and the sound of soft classical music. The walls were lined with shelves, each one packed with books of all shapes and sizes. Emma felt a sense of calm wash over her as she wandered through the aisles. In the back corner of the shop, she found a selection dedicated to travel books. One book caught her eye. It was an old leather-bound journal with no title on the cover. Curious, she picked it up and opened it. Inside she found handwritten notes and sketches of various places around the world. It seemed to be a travel diary. Emma was intrigued. She took the book to the counter and asked the shopkeeper about it. The shopkeeper, an elderly man with a kind smile, told her that the journal had been left in the shop many years ago by a traveller who never returned to claim it. He offered to sell it to her for a small price, and she gladly accepted. Back in her apartment, Emma began to read the journal. The entries were fascinating, filled with stories of adventures in far-off places. The traveller had visited bustling cities, serene countryside, and remote villages. Each entry was accompanied by beautiful sketches that brought the stories to life. As she read, Emma felt a growing desire to travel. She had always dreamed of seeing the world, but had never taken the leap. The journal inspired her to take action. She decided to plan a trip, starting with a visit to one of the places mentioned in the journal. The next morning, Emma booked a flight to Italy. She chose a small town called Sighed, which the traveller had described as a hidden gem. The journal mentioned the colourful houses, the stunning coastline, and the friendly locals. Emma couldn't wait to see it for herself. When she arrived in Sighed, she was not disappointed. The town was even more beautiful than she had imagined. She spent her days exploring the narrow streets, hiking along the cliffs, and enjoying delicious Italian food. She made friends with some of the locals who welcomed her with open arms. One evening, while sitting on a terrace overlooking the sea, Emma took out the journal and began to write her own entry. She described the beauty of Sighed, the kindness of the people, and the sense of freedom she felt. She realized that this journey was just the beginning. There were so many more places to see and experiences to have. Emma returned to Bristol with a newfound sense of purpose. She continued to work as a graphic designer, but she made time for travel. She visited many of the places mentioned in the journal, each trip adding to her own collection of stories and memories. The old bookshop became a regular stop for her. She would visit the shopkeeper and share her latest adventures. He was always delighted to hear her stories and would often recommend new books for her to read. Years passed and Emma's life was richer, and more fulfilling than she had ever imagined. She had travelled to many countries, met incredible people, and experienced things she had only dreamt of. The journal had been a catalyst for it all, a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected journeys can lead to the most amazing destinations. One day Emma returned to the bookshop with a gift for the shopkeeper. It was a new journal filled with her own travel stories and sketches. She handed it to him with a smile, thanking him for the inspiration. The shopkeeper accepted the gift with tears in his eyes, knowing that the cycle of adventure and discovery would continue. Emma left the shop feeling grateful for the rainy afternoon that had changed her life. She knew that there were still many more journeys to come, and she was ready for whatever adventures lay ahead. Vocabulary notes. Typical. Definition. Showing the characteristics expected of a particular person or thing. Example from the story. It was a typical rainy afternoon in Bristol. Similar words. Usual, normal, standard, conventional. Soothing. Definition. Having a gently calming effect. Example from the story. The rain was pouring down, creating a soothing rhythm against the glass. Similar words. Calming, relaxing, comforting, tranquil. Responsibilities. Definition. Duties or tasks that one is required or expected to do. Example from the story. Now life was more complicated, filled with deadlines and responsibilities. Similar words. Duties, obligations, tasks, commitments. Whim. Definition. A sudden desire or change of mind, especially one that is unusual or unexplained. Example from the story. On a whim, she decided to visit the shop. Similar words. Impulse, fancy, caprice, urge. Cozy. Definition. Giving a feeling of comfort, warmth, and relaxation. Example from the story. It was a cozy place filled with the smell of old books and the sound of soft classical music. Similar words. Comfortable, snug, warm, homely. Intrigued. Definition. Aroused the curiosity or interest of. Fascinated. Example from the story. Emma was intrigued. She took the book to the counter and asked the shopkeeper about it. Similar words. Fascinated, interested, captivated, curious. Catalyst. Definition. A person or thing that precipitates an event or change. Example from the story. The journal had been the catalyst for it all, a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected journeys can lead to the most amazing destinations. Similar words. Stimulus, spark, impetus, trigger. Fulfillment. Definition. The achievement of something desired, promised, or predicted. Example from the story. Emma's life was richer and more fulfilling than she had ever imagined. Similar words. Satisfaction, contentment, achievement, realization. Grateful. Definition. Feeling or showing an appreciation of kindness. Thankful. Example from the story. Emma left the shop feeling grateful for the rainy afternoon that had changed her life. Similar words. Thankful, appreciative, obliged, indebted. Adventure. Definition. An unusual and exciting, typically hazardous experience or activity. Example from the story. She knew that there were still many journeys to come, and she was ready for whatever adventures lay ahead. Similar words. Expedition, journey, quest, exploration. Story written by Copilot AI. image created by Copilot AI. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you.